Well, first off, I'll apologize for the different lighting here. If you're wondering why the sound on some of the NC videos recently has sounded a little different, maybe you haven't noticed, I don't know, but we're getting a buzzing sound from the camera. We're trying to figure out what it is, and long story short, we figured out it was the lights we were using for some reason wasn't reacting well to the microphones we were using, so I had to take the light here and bring it to the studio, and I left it there. So I'm just using the light from the computer here, but it actually almost looks a little better. Maybe I'll just use this cheapo setup. But anyway, you're not here to hear about that. You're here to hear me talk about this Stephen King movie about walking, and in a couple months we're going to get a Stephen King movie about running, so that'll be interesting. I will admit I have not read the book, The Long Walk. I never even heard of it before. I know one line from this. It's a line my girlfriend from high school used to quote all the time about the three important things in life. If you know the line, you know the line. If you don't, I won't ruin it for you. It's a cute line. But I didn't know anything else about it. So I know that when I saw the trailer, I thought it was an interesting concept. I'm like, that is kind of so simple. It has to be interesting. And my favorite King stories are always simple. I don't really get into it much when he does the overcomplicated stuff. Someone just kidnapped by a fan, like that's interesting, or just life in a prison, that's interesting. Just this idea of like you have to keep walking, and the further you get, until everybody's dead but the last person there. And I just thought that was very interesting. And so I went into this movie, with high hopes. I mean, nothing too crazy. I just thought it'd be a good movie, and I was hearing good buzz about it. I'm like, I wonder what this film does that's, so different from other King adaptations. I don't use this word often. I thought this film was riveting. This was really, really damn good. This really takes the pros of Stephen King. A lot of times when I talk about adaptations, I say, captures the pros and the cons, but this really is nothing but the pros of Stephen King and why people do celebrate him as a writer. And of course, I've made jokes about Stephen King in the past, but I do like him both as a writer and as he seems like a really cool person as well. But I've definitely made fun of a lot of his tropes, and particularly his adaptations. This is a guy who loves to write. I think even he made a joke about they would publish his laundry list if he, would allow them. So it's just something that's in his blood. He adores it. So of course you're going to get stuff that's not always great, but it's always interesting. And I always love that about Stephen King. But a lot of these adaptations don't usually work because they are adapting a writing style that works very well in a book, but doesn't always translate well to film. And so often you'll hear Stephen King fans, and honestly I agree with them, explain an idea or a scene or a line or honestly almost anything, and they'll say it's better the way he wrote it. And it is true. There is a way he tells his stories and sets people up that really lends itself to that medium that makes it very tricky to adapt in live action, in miniseries, shows, movies, any of that. Not to say there aren't good ones. There are some very, very good adaptations out there. But in terms of one where I felt like I was just watching a Stephen King novel, like everything that works about the best Stephen King stories is being presented to me on the big screen right now. And I knew it was doing something very unique when I was thinking about the dialogue in this movie. And it's good dialogue, but I was thinking to myself, if I saw this just written on the page in script form, I wouldn't say it's bad, but I would say this might come across as a little hokey. This might come across as a little odd, because you can explain more of the people in a book. You can explain their backstories and what they're like. You can sum them up where you can't really do that in film. It's a visual medium. This one got actors that are so good. I mean, like some of the best performances I've seen all year. They not only made this dialogue work, that's already decent dialogue, but again, it's King dialogue. It's dialogue mainly from a book, I'm assuming. A lot of it sounds like it's from a book. I even recognized lines from a book I didn't even read. So I'm assuming a lot of it is from there, but they really make it sound so natural, and it's because they really had an understanding of these people and what they're like. And I think that's a big part of why a lot of adaptations of King works don't usually work, is that they're usually in they have a time crunch to get them, especially miniseries and so forth. And they have to usually work with effects, and they have to think about how to make the scary stuff work, because usually it's his, horror stuff that gets made. And while this does definitely have horror elements, definitely, I don't know if I call it horror. I'd probably more say it's, man, I don't know. If I don't call it horror, what do I call it? I don't know, is it really a thriller? It's a commentary movie, but you don't necessarily know exactly what the commentary is, even though I did find out, I just did a review of Brad Jones about it, and he read the book years ago, and he said he was aware that it was supposed to be a commentary on the Vietnam War. And once I knew that, I'm like, oh, okay, I can connect the pieces there, that makes sense. But I like a movie like this where if you know that going in, that's awesome, it really works, it's very effective. If you don't know that, you can read it as so many other things. This is a story that, even though it was made, or written in the 70s, I assume, it can be made now and still be just as relevant. There's actually stuff in this movie, I'll just say it, in light of certain things that have been happening in the news recently, that made me really uncomfortable. It made me oh man, some of this is really tough to watch. So when I say this is a heavy movie, don't go into this film thinking, oh, I want some schlocky horror. I want Stephen King, Christine or It, just some crazy, scary stuff. This is not that movie. This is really heavy, really well done, really effective filmmaking. And it does its job so well that in the first 3 minutes, it's just a character saying goodbye to another character. And I just got chills already. The acting was that good. And I really feel like these actors, they have to be nominated for several awards this year, I feel like. Just all of them really, really work. Even one, this is interesting because I'm kind of glad I did a review of Brad Jones first before I did this one. Because I say in that review, for those who don't know, Mark Hamill plays the general in this. He's got, these people walking that are apparently volunteering, but in this world that they keep just vague enough that you don't know exactly what caused everything or why it's happening. You just know these certain things is set off and made the world like this. People are volunteering, but they kind of don't exactly have a choice. It's giving the illusion of choice. And Mark Hamill is the general, is watching them walk. All of them have to walk until there's one left, and that person gets this huge cash prize and one wish. Just that falls within the rules of this world. That's another reason I like this movie. There are rules to this world, but it does not get bogged down by them. And that's something that both modern filmmaking and King himself does a lot. So I'm really glad to see that they do set rules in place, but it's not all about that. It doesn't consume the majority of it. And Mark Hamill plays this general who's a larger-than-life character, and at first, I didn't dislike the performance, but I was thrown off because I knew it was Mark Hamill, and at first I said, boy, I'm glad I'm watching Mark Hamill in a major role that's not Luke Skywalker or a cartoon voice. And they started talking with a cartoon voice. And I started to go, oh no, is this... Because at first I saw in the trailer and I'm like, well, all right, again, I kind of thought that this would be played legit dramatic, but I didn't know it would be this dramatic. So every time he talked with people that are really talking, really, you just feel like you're on the road with these people the whole way through. And then you get Mark Hamill talking with his big voice, sounds like a rough and gruff joker a little bit, going on like that. I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is working. This is taking him out of it a little bit. But then I realized, again, when I was talking with Brad, that the more separate he is from those people, from the kids walking here, the more it makes sense because A, he's already a larger-than-life character, but B, he's already separate from them. He's in this Jeep. They say, yeah, he takes naps in there. I think he even showers and stuff like that. They don't know entirely how, but he does it. So he's getting his rest. He's relaxed, so he can be this way. He really is separate from them. So to a point where now I'm kind of wondering, maybe the put on voice was intentional. That's not what the guy really sounds like. He puts on this voice to sound gruffer. It's something I wouldn't put past this character. And it is a character that's written purposefully like that. It's not something I'm making excuses for him. There are lines in this where you can tell he has a really sick, dark sense of humor. He is rough and gruff, but part of it is, being hammy and for show as well. They keep saying there's cameras filming him and everything, though they say there's cameras. I never see them, but maybe there's supposed to be like hidden cameras. I don't know. This is a film that really rides on its simplicity. Even the way it's shot. This is a film that so many things should not work about this as a film. I'm thinking to myself, man, if you just have this camera filming them walking and you don't have that much variety of shots. I mean, like, they do cut, they do edit, but they know to keep a lot of these shots on them for a while, so you really feel like you get to know them and you're walking with them. And just the more you find out about them, the more fascinating they are and the more tragic they are, and the more you feel bad about this situation. And I feel like they set up everything just enough where I'm not questioning everything, where I feel like another adaptation, I would be questioning everything. I would be questioning why that character say that. I would be questioning, what are the rules of this world, all the rules, and why are people volunteering for this? Why are they excited for this? Why are they everything? And the way they set it up with just enough little context clues, you get it. And context clues, good directing, and just phenomenal acting. I just really, really felt for everybody in this lineup, all the people walking there. And every time somebody gets taken out, like, it's sad when they arrive and they're just talking, and they're just kind of shooting the shit and they're kind of making fun of each other and everything. They're talking about how they're going to win and they're going to be the one. Yeah, y'all gonna be dead and stuff like that. And some are being very encouraging. Some are trying to sabotage the others. Even when some are being jerks to others, the characters I'm not supposed to like, I still like them, and I don't want to see them go. I don't want to see anything happen to them, but that's how it has to be. And just while I'm sitting there looking at all of them talking, I'm like, I really like these people. I've only known them for like a few minutes, but I just instantly really like them and want to know more about them. And you're watching the last days of their lives, and it's just so heartbreaking to watch. And again, there's so many things you could connect that to. This is a story that I feel like, yes, had, a very clear identity to what it was talking about before, it sounds like, but it was written in a way where it could be talked about years later. It's not something where you have to know what the Vietnam War is in order to either get the commentary or follow the story. This can be connected to so many things. And even if you don't connect it to anything, it's just a fascinating story. It's just so interesting watching these people go through this setup. I guess the director of Hunger Games did this, and it feels like a mix of like Hunger Games and Lord of the Flies a little bit, but it also does kind of feel like soldiers. It feels like people signing up for something, feeling like, yeah, we're gonna, do good, either for our country or, or for ourselves. And again, if you want to like really, really nitpick, you could be like, well, wait, why would they be duped by this? Why would they fall for this? And again, most King adaptations, I would say that, but the way they set up this world, again, with just the tiniest, smartest little clues, you get the idea, you understand the environment and the atmosphere that this would lead to, and it does make it feel very, very real. So yeah, man, I'm trying to even think what else there is to say about it. It's just good. It's a good movie. It is really representative of the best of King's writing, truly. I don't know if I can say it's like the best adaptation I've seen of his, but like, it's up there. It's bare minimum top 5, maybe even top 3. I mean, it is that good. So yeah, even when I got to the ending of this movie, which I won't ruin, I was kind of on the fence about it. I didn't know how I felt about it. And even then, I liked that I didn't know how I felt about it. I had to think about it for a little bit. And then as I was leaving the theater and sitting down and everything, I'm like, yeah, I think that did work. There are things in it where, especially if you connect it to like the Vietnam War and everything, it's like, okay, well, that definitely works. But when I saw it and I left the theater, I think I was just kind of so jolted by everything. I was like, yeah, man, let me, like, the characters really got to me. And I really was thinking about what this experience did to them and how it changed them and what survived and what didn't about these people. Well, even down to the people that don't survive, but the who makes it through. Just all of it is so fascinating and such a I don't know, it's gonna stay with me for a bit, and I like that. It's been a while since I've seen a movie where I'm like, man, this is gonna stay with me for a little bit of time. And it's nice to see. Again, I was talking about before how I feel like the best movies this year, even though this is an adaptation, but the best movies that like have new ideas or interesting ideas, interesting commentary and whatever, are animated films and horror films. And again, it's hard to know what to call this. I mean, I guess just a drama, a sci-fi drama, I guess, but it is borderline horror, certainly. But I would lean a little bit more towards like thriller, suspense. I think when people think horror, they think of like either monster movie, slasher, or like torture porn, something like that. And that's not what this is. This really is something that has a lot of suspense to it. And like I said, it's a tearjerker as well. You just really, really feel for these people. Like I said, even the people you're not supposed to like. And you see them obviously you're going to see them have a change as this movie goes on, but you don't see them as stupid. You don't see the commentary as obvious. You see these people do stuff early on in this optimistic point of view, like, oh yeah, I'm the badass, I'm a blah, blah, blah. And when they have to see the consequences of their actions, it hits them really quickly. And that's another thing I like too. So many King films would take like an antagonist, and granted, Hamill, and this is definitely the antagonist. But, other people in the group, like the bullies. There's usually bullies in King stories. And again, when King does them right, you understand the bullies a little bit more. You do give them a little dimension and backstory that a lot of times you can't work into the adaptations because there's usually so many other things going on. And with this, the quote-unquote bullies in this, there's a couple of characters. Obviously, are going to try and sabotage the others. When they see the consequences of what they did, of their actions, you see it really affects them, and they do it early. So we're not bored with this character. We're not just waiting for that moment to happen. They get to that moment quick, and then you see how it affects them throughout the rest of the journey. And that is just so refreshing. It reminds me in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles where they get that scene out of the way where John Candy and Steve Martin blow up at each other. They get it out of the way in the first third, where usually be saved for like the beginning of the third act. So when it happens, it's like, oh, we're not doing the usual formula. Now I get to find out more about these people that I don't usually see in a movie. And that's just so nice, and it makes them so much more interesting. So yeah, I really recommend this movie big time. It's an easy 4 out of 4 movie for me. I am giving warning that it is very, very intense. It is meant to be a drama. It is meant to be a tearjerker. It's meant to be suspenseful. And it's not in a sense that it's like, oh, just edge of your seat, don't go in there kind of thing. I mean, you're just watching people live out their last days walking. And it's just, as you'd imagine, it's not pleasant. When it's done in a very realistic manner, it's not pleasant. But it is very fascinating, and it's interesting to see what it says about us in this setup, not only the worst of what we can be, but also the best of what we can be and what you do sacrifice of yourself. I like stories about that, about what do you hold on to and what do you let die, what changes you for the worse, what changes you for the better. And this movie is definitely about that. And I am very, very impressed with this film, big time. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind, though. It is very legit intense. I mean, and it is a tearjerker. It is a drama. It really wants you to feel for these people, and it does it very effectively. With that said, what did you think? Did you see this movie and did you think it was fantastic, one of the best of the year, one of the best Stephen King adaptations ever? Or did you think it was awful, it didn't make any sense, it did need more rules, it needed to explain things more, why would people sign up to walk to die, this is so dumb? Or are you somewhere in between where you go, I like King stories, I thought this was suspenseful enough, it's an interesting idea, and I'm probably not going to be able to sleep tonight because I'm too disturbed for one reason or another. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Take care.